Hi there, welcome to another video. Hopefully you're already subscribing to the channel, so I don't need to remind you to do that. And hopefully some of you have already become patrons, supporting us financially through Patreon. And it's really appreciated. So shout out to those of you that are, thank you very much. And for those of you that aren't, please do consider it. We're sharing lots of material on there in addition to these videos, in addition to the material that's on the website. It provides us some great free storage space online to be able to share some of the things like the Small Arms Committee minutes. And there are, I think there's about 32 gigabytes of information there. So we're gradually working through those up to 1910 at the moment, which is when the Vickers was first really mentioned, so obviously that's included, but all the other British small arms and a lot of foreign weapons that are being trialled are as well. So please do go online and consider supporting us through Patreon. This video though is going to be about the Vickers, really sort of strong Vickers content. We're going to go through some of the Vickers machine guns in the collections that are part of the OWL series. That's OWL for Lima. Some people whinge about my accent when I say OWL. Think I'm hurting myself. That's the OWL series Vickers. So because they're the light gun, OWL for light. And what we're going to do, we've got 4 of them in the collection. I'm just going to go through some of the details behind each of those guns, how they're different actually. It was a really long production period for the 10,000 OWL series guns. So they do differ in their styles. And we're going to sort of refer to The Grand Old Lady in No Man's Land, a book that was first published in 1994, and really pleased to be talking with Chipotle Publishing at the moment about they're currently preparing the 2nd edition for publishing. Now we helped out with that. I did a load of updates for it because of course this book was published in 94, where just before the Australian release of Vickers Machine Guns was really possible to be researched. So loads of information has been missing. I understand they've added literally several hundred pages and there's a number of corrections. Just to take my copy alone, and I might go through this in another video, but my copy alone includes all these post-it notes of corrections on missing information. So so a bit of an Easter egg there for you. That should be able to announce more very soon on that one. But this does contain a lot of information that Dolph Goldsmith, the author, who some of you may know, he got from at the time the Ministry of Defence Pattern Room, now the archives part of the National Firearms Centre up in Leeds and run by the Royal Armouries. But loads of information on the OWL series guns is in here. So we're going to use some of that to help date and describe some of the Vickers that we've got in the collection. So I hope this is of interest to you. And do, obviously, if you've got an OWL series gun, let us know more about it in the comments. Like the video, share it, subscribe, all those standard things. But do, let us know. Share the serial number. We'll try and date it a little bit more for you if you haven't got a copy of the book. And we'll see whether it differs from the guns that we've got in the collection. So here we go. So before we get into comparisons, let's just dive into the serial numbers of these guns. We've got L311, L311, which according to Goldsmith and the records he got, where have we got L311? We've got L311 in here in November 1914. We've then got L677, and L677 corresponds with, where's L677? March 1915. L1053, that's a particularly interesting gun, we'll cover that quite a bit. L1053 is in this series here, so June 1915. I think I was talking about that one as May, so apologies if you heard me talk about that was May. June 1915 there. And then the last gun in the series that we've got, L8090, L8090. And you can see how the production period took so long, because L8090, where have we got L8090 here? In October 1916. And production December 1916 for L9999, all the way back from February 1911. So quite a long production period, lots of different things incorporated, but we've got a spread there from November 1914 through 1915 up towards what did we say it was? We said October 1916. So a 2-year spread in the production guns that we've got in the collection here. So let's take a look at this first gun and start to just give it an overall examination. So L311. We said November 1914. This is one of the earlier types of guns, and it's really important to recognise that Al, stands for light. And on some of the markings that you can see, there is an the earlier markings are marked up LG or VSM over LG or LG over VSM, and that means that it's actually the light gun, because obviously this was the lightened or the light machine gun, surprisingly, in comparison to the Maxim. Everything's drawn back to the Maxim at this point. First introduced, so the Vickers is first introduced in 1912. Adopted by the British Army, 26th of November 1912, and starts to replace the Maxim machine gun. So it is obviously considerably lighter than the Maxim. It's before light machine guns are envisaged in the British Army, or before the Lewis comes along, albeit being trialled at the same time. This is the light gun, and we'll try and draw some of these markings out. Now, this is an early gun. It's got what's commonly called the 5-arch top cover. You can see here that it's all milled out. These are they are comparatively light. So we've done, we did an experiment where we just weighed some of these compared to later production guns. And there's 3 kilograms, so what's that, 7 pounds difference between these early production Vickers machine guns and those at the end of the First World War. So we did a blog article about that, comparing, so there's some tabulated data there you might want to go and have a look at. But this is the lightning that we're talking about. All of this area here is milled out, really high intensity machining. This isn't perfect in a, as an early gun, because this should have a sprung check lever here, which we do have on one of the Nepalese guns, so we'll include a photo of it. But it should have a sprung check lever here. But other than that, it seems to be, we have put this on it from one of the other guns, as you'll see in a minute. But other than that, it does seem to be, a very early setup. It does have the milled out or cut out thumb piece there, so you can get a full thumb in. On a couple of the others, we don't have that. It's a smaller area, so yep, we'll check that in a minute. But steel feed block, 5-arch top cover, lightning all over the side here. And what markings have we got on the bottom? Nothing in particular. You can see obviously this is a deactivated gun. Other than that, what have we got? We've got an L series feed block, the steel feed block L9454, so that last December period production guns in there. Nothing. We've got a VSM barrel in there, albeit welded in. Nothing really of note to say that it's lightened in there. But when we do open the top cover, you can see that these are milled out as well. So this is lightened, so that it's, does save that little bit extra bit of weight. Nothing particularly of note in there. Quite a clean gun, obviously. Looks to be a later fusee spring cover has been added to this one. It's marked up DP, drill purpose. Some other markings on there. U, I don't know whether that's the South African U or for another reason. But this is lightened as well, which you'll see on some of the later guns isn't. But there we go. Water jacket. It's obviously painted in this, the brown khaki as opposed to the green. But other than that, it's all there. Let's move on to this next one, L677. Oh, I'm gonna move L311 back a bit. One thing you will notice in some of these earlier guns, I've got the thread protectors on them, which do go on the water jacket thread, or condenser tube thread, just to add it as a piece of protection there. So those are quite scarce in themselves. Now normally these have Sangster mounts on them, so auxiliary tripods. You can see in our video where we fire off that. So that's why there's this wear here. Now this example has the original thumb piece size in there, so not quite as easy, not easy to do with gloves on. So that's why they were then sort of milled out or cut out ground out to be this bigger piece that then is the size that carries on into the later production feed blocks. Not necessarily just something on steel. We do have an example of a brass one in the collection that does have this smaller piece as well. So let's see what this feed block, no particular markings on that feed block. This has actually got an Australian barrel in it. So, you know, obviously the Australian spare parts are widespread on machine guns, on Vickers guns. So quite often see them. And what we can just see here is the LG over the VSM. Hopefully you can see that. If not, we'll put it up on a photo. That's the LG over the VSM, showing that it's the light gun. You've also got it on this roller collar there as well. And what you can see here is these pins are actually reamed out as part of the lightning process. We're missing the rear sight on this side, the slide on this one, but you can see that this has got the 5-arch top cover and all this lightning, and the check lever has been replaced as well. You've got these slightly lightened crank handles as well, just a little bit ground out there. That appears on a lot of crank handles, so it's obviously a production technique that stayed in place. What else can you see? This I don't know how well you can see it on the camera there, but this pin is lightened as well, drilled out. But then what's really nice on this example, you have some matching parts. L677 is ground in there, or engraved, sorry. It's also in here, L677 on the bottom cover, on the cross piece. All in that same style that Vickers were serial numbering things. So really, really nice to see these matched examples. Now I think, am I right in thinking? Yeah. So actually the catch for the top cover is also marked L677, sorry. And the top cover itself is marked up L677. So a really nice, well-matched piece. Now, the previous owner explained that he did this by going through all of the guns that had been imported at the time and, you know, reassembling those that had matched parts. And this was one of the most complete examples that he found. So we're really appreciating the effort that went into with that one. So, yeah, you know, quite something to have so many matched parts across the gun. Nothing of any particular note at the front end that you recognise. You know, it's got the early muzzle cone, you know, the flat disc muzzle cone, the Mark 1 there. But yeah, great example of, what do we say for that one? A March 1915 production gun. Now, move a couple of months later and we get to June and we got L1053. Now, L1053 has got a few, you know, it's a drill purpose gun again. You know, it's really rare to see L series guns that aren't drill purpose, because those that stayed in service obviously did so for so long. But this one has added bonus that it's got this marking of EY. Now, those familiar with Lee Enfield rifles will know that EY appears on a lot of the wire-bound grenade launching rifles. And it means they're to be fired with ball ammunition in emergency use only. So the, I don't know, the phonic sound of the use there, but EY stands for emergency use only. It may just be that it was shortened from emergency as opposed to emergency use. That might have caught on later. We know how these things do. But it would appear that we've got, you know, this patch here, and a patch on the other side, is it? Or it's just those two? Sorry, no, it's just those two. These patches and this scarring indicate some significant battle damage. So, you know, maybe it was emergency use only for that purpose, because it had been involved in a serious amount of action. Now, the lightning on this gun, you know, is on this, the bottom stop there. Really annoying. This is obviously taken a whack at some point. It won't quite sit flush all the time. It's lightened in all the same places that we see on L677. It's got the early steel, you know, thumb piece there. It's got serial number of 8504. Most of the feed blocks were serial numbered. This one actually has an alternative serial number of K878 as well. So, you know, it appeared on a K gun, a K series Vickers machine gun. Don't want you getting confused with the K gun video, which I'll put up a link to because it's one of our favourites, certainly one of everybody else's favourites. Quite often you'll see A and B marked on these, you know, so the A block goes in the gun and the B block is the spare. You'll see that on locks as well. But what you also have in this one, see if I can get it near, is we have the front top cover marked up with the serial number 2. So really pleased with that. You know, we could follow these guns through a little bit more. These other serial numbers. What have we got? We've got just a Mark II barrel in there with a random number on that, just a barrel number. But really pleased to have that marked up. Again, this came from the same batch that was put together, because I think, no, it doesn't have the L1053, although that's been milled out. It does have these milled out to save weight. What other stuff have we got on here? V529 is a common inspector's mark that's on a lot of these earlier guns as well. So, you know, the Inspector 529 was obviously quite prolific. The lock on this one is actually stamped L1053 or H1053, but it's an MA, a made in Australia 1942 feed lock. So it's obviously actually been stamped in later to match to this gun, possibly when everything went drill purpose. Have we got any markings on this bottom piece? No, just drill purpose. The rear cross piece though is marked up L1053 as well, which is lovely. We've got some of the hollowed out pins in place, which are part of the Lightning. We've got a I can't remember which mark this is, so you'll have to forgive me, but it's one of the adjustable slides, one of the early pieces with the solid thumb piece on there. Oh, what else can I tell you? Probably that's about it at the moment for L1053. But certainly the most interesting piece on this gun is this EY plate, little brass plate that's been brazed on there, and the battle damage that exists. So that's the 3 early guns. We had 1914 and then the 2 1915 guns. And it's important to see how the Lightning starts to disappear as production increases. You'll see that from the numbers, the serial numbers there. Because it's this machining of all these top cover arches and the internals and everything that save the weight, but they take a lot of time. So by the time we get to 1916, still an L series gun, L8090, but a lot of it's disappeared. We've just got one arch in the top cover. We've got no lightning, no machining in the sides at all. This is how it was made. Nothing's been filled back in. You don't bother doing that. But it just said there's a single groove left in the side here. Now we've seen a C series gun. Used to have it in the collection. If anybody knows where C8234 exists, please get in touch. We'd love to have it back in the collection. So yeah, C8234 had these grooves as well. So although these were all made at Erith in Kent, Crayford guns, which is that first C series, they had some lightning, some machining being done as well. But yeah, this has a lot of different stampings in this area here. I'm not really sure what those are. I've got J over J. If you know, please do comment. J over J and then 74 and a couple of dots there. Maybe inspectors markings or armourers. Or maybe even unit markings. Very rarely do we see unit markings. But by this time, we've got the steel feed block with with the aperture being cut out. We'd certainly expect to see that as standard. We've got L7976 on this steel feed block, so another L series gun that's been taken off. This top cover has been replaced with a Vickers Armstrong Crayford gun, so that's a post-1930s stamp. Hopefully that's that's something we could replace and put an earlier gun on. But this top lever on the feed block here as well, VAN, Vickers Armstrong's Nordenfelt, possibly. Also seen it registered as Vickers Armstrong's North, where they were making small parts not in the machine gun factories, but using some of the Vickers network of factories that exists elsewhere. What we got down here? CFD, so that's probably Crayford. There's a mark in there. I'm not even sure that is CFD, CRD, ORD. I'm not going to commit to anything on that. But clearly made up from a lot of different parts. No sort of match markings. The only nice early marking that we've got, you can see on the camera there, is the LG Inner Circle, the light gun. So again, you know, this LG appearing. So that's a nice early piece in the back of the receiver. Nothing really to add other than to say we've got the Mark II star tangent sight slide on here, which, you know, it did appear towards the end of the First World War. Likely to be later than this production just. Maybe, but yeah, you can see, although we've got L series Vickers machine guns, it doesn't necessarily mean they're always the same. What we got on the front? Nothing of any particular note on the front there, but we do have LG VSM. You won't be able to see that on the camera, I don't think. LG over the VSM on the muzzle attachment outer casing. So, there we go. Overview of the L series Vickers machine guns in the collection. Put them back in the right order before everybody confuses themselves, or I confuse myself more likely. We've got running from November 1914, March 1915, June 1915, through to, I think we said August, might have been September 1916. All L series Vickers machine guns. Quite the difference in their production styles, and this gun here weighs several pounds heavier than this gun here, although they are both First World War Vickers machine guns, both L series made in the same factory but 2 years apart. So I hope that's been interesting for you. We might pick up a few of the different series of machine guns that we've got in the collection to go through and do this again. Let us know your comments. Let us know if this is the kind of content you're after. Let us know what L series guns you've got and whether they differ at all. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you for watching. Please remember to like and share the video and subscribe to the channel. Please support us on Patreon if you're able to, and let us know of anything you'd like to see in the future. I look forward to hearing from you.